3 years ago, I married Diana, and I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive. We built our little life together, one paycheck at a time, one quiet evening at a time. I worked hard. She made our apartment feel like home. Everything felt right. Then one autumn evening, her phone rang, and everything changed. Her mother needed a place to stay. Just 2 weeks, Diana promised. But those 2 weeks turned into something I never saw coming. My wife looked me in the eyes and said 4 words I will never forget. You can leave. Before I get into this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have not already, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps more than you know. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment everything started to fall apart. My name is Brian. I am 32 years old and I work as a software engineer for a tech company based in Seattle. The job is remote, which means I get to work from home, something I always considered a blessing. Diana and I had been married for 3 years when this story took place. We rented a 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. The rent was $1,800 a month, which was manageable on my salary. Diana worked part-time at a clothing store maybe 3 days a week, so her income was never consistent enough to put on a lease. When we first moved in, it just made sense for me to sign the contract alone. She agreed. It was easier that way, she said. Less paperwork. I never thought twice about it. Our daily life was simple, but good. I would wake up around 7, make coffee, and settle into my home office by 8. I had a nice setup in the second bedroom. 2 monitors, a comfortable chair, good lighting. Diana would sleep in a bit longer, then head to work or run errands. In the evenings, we would cook dinner together. Nothing fancy. Pasta, grilled chicken, stir-fry. We would watch a movie or a few episodes of whatever show we were into at the time. On weekends, we would walk through the park near our place or visit friends. It was a quiet life, but it was ours. I loved it. Then came that Friday evening in October. I was finishing up a project when I heard Diana on the phone in the living room. Her voice sounded stressed. When she hung up, she walked into my office with tears in her eyes. Her mother, Linda, had just finalized her divorce from her second husband. The house went to him. Linda had nowhere to go. Diana asked if her mom could stay with us for a little while. Just 2 weeks, she said. Just until she finds an apartment. I hesitated. I had met Linda several times, and I knew she was not an easy person to be around. She had opinions about everything and was not shy about sharing them. But Diana looked so worried, so desperate. I loved my wife. I wanted to help. So I said yes. 2 weeks. I could handle 2 weeks. Linda arrived the following Monday. She showed up with 3 large suitcases and 5 cardboard boxes. I stood in the doorway watching her unload everything from her car. This does not look like 2 weeks of stuff, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Diana quickly explained that her mom did not want to pay for a storage unit. It made sense to bring everything, she said. Linda smiled at me, but it did not reach her eyes. She set up camp in the living room, turning our couch into her bed and the corner into her personal space. The first week was uncomfortable, but manageable. Linda woke up early around 5:30 every morning and immediately turned on the television. The volume was always too loud. I would lie in bed trying to squeeze in another hour of sleep, listening to morning talk shows blaring through the walls. She rearranged things in the kitchen without asking. The coffee mugs moved to a different shelf. The spices got reorganized. She said it was for better organization. She cooked meals sometimes, which sounds nice, but she would leave all the dishes piled in the sink for Diana to wash later. She complained about our internet speed and asked me to upgrade our package. I did, just to keep the peace. The bill went up by $30 a month. By the second week, there was no sign of Linda looking for her own place. I asked Diana about it one evening while her mom was in the shower. Diana avoided my eyes. "She is still looking," she said. "The market is really tough right now." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something felt off. Linda started inviting her friends over in the afternoons. They would sit in the living room laughing and talking loudly while I was trying to concentrate on video calls with my team. I had to mute myself constantly. I started closing my office door, but the noise still came through. I began to feel like a stranger in my own home. But I stayed quiet. I did not want to start a fight with Diana. I told myself things would get better. Something told me this was just the beginning. A full month passed, and Linda was still with us. I brought it up again with Diana more directly this time. She told me her mother was on a waiting list for senior housing. "These things take time," she said. I offered to help Linda search for apartments myself. I even said I would cover the security deposit and first month of rent just to speed things along. Diana shut me down immediately. Her mother did not need my charity, she said. She would figure it out on her own. Then Linda complained that sleeping on the couch was hurting her back. She needed a real bed, she said. Diana came to me with a suggestion. "What if we moved my office setup into our bedroom? Just temporarily," she said. That way her mom could have the second bedroom. I felt my stomach drop. That room was my workspace. It was where I earned my living. But Diana looked at me with those eyes, and I caved. I spent an entire Saturday moving my desk, my monitors, my chair, everything into the corner of our bedroom. The space was cramped. The lighting was terrible. My nice, ergonomic chair barely fit. Linda moved into my old office that same day. She hung up pictures on the walls. She brought in a small television. It did not look temporary at all. My work started to suffer. I was taking calls from a tiny desk wedged between our dresser and the closet. The camera angle was awkward. The background looked unprofessional. My manager asked me during a one-on-one if everything was okay at home. I lied and said yes. But inside, I was falling apart. Linda's criticism started small, but grew bolder every day. She would watch me cook dinner and shake her head. "My daughter deserves better meals than this," she said once loud enough for Diana to hear. She commented on things I bought. "You spent $200 on headphones? Must be nice to waste money like that." She made remarks about my job. "You just sit at a computer all day. That is not real work. Real men go to offices." She hinted that I was not providing enough for Diana. If my daughter had married someone more ambitious, she would be living in a house by now, not a rental apartment. The worst part was watching Diana change. She used to defend me. She used to roll her eyes at her mother's comments and whisper apologies to me later. But somewhere along the way she stopped. She started nodding along when Linda spoke. She stopped cooking with me in the evenings. Instead, she would sit with her mom watching television while I ate alone in the bedroom. When I tried to talk to her about it, she dismissed me. "You are being too sensitive," she said. "My mom is just old-fashioned. She does not mean anything by it." The financial strain was real, too. Our electric bill jumped by $70 because Linda kept the air conditioning running all day, while Diana and I were at work or in meetings. The water bill increased because she did laundry almost every single day. Our grocery costs doubled. Linda never offered to contribute a single dollar. When I finally mentioned the money issue to Diana, she exploded. "She is my mother," she yelled. "She is not some tenant. How dare you try to nickel and dime her?" I backed off. I always backed off. One Sunday night I asked Diana if we could talk privately. I closed the bedroom door and sat her down. I tried to stay calm. I told her that her mom had been with us for over a month now. I said I understood that family was important, but we needed a plan. I offered again to help with the deposit and first month of rent for an apartment. I said I would even drive Linda around to look at places. Diana's face twisted with anger. "So you want to kick my mother out on the street," she said. "Is that what you are saying?" Before I could respond, the door swung open. Linda stood there, eyes red and watery. "I knew it," she said, her voice trembling. "I knew he never liked me. I am just a burden to everyone." Diana rushed to her mother's side, wrapping her arms around her. She turned to look at me, and her eyes were full of fury. I felt like the villain in my own home, even though I had done nothing wrong. I was just trying to find a solution. I was just trying to get my life back. After that night, Diana barely spoke to me for 2 days. Linda walked around the apartment sighing dramatically whenever I entered a room. The air felt heavy, suffocating. I started staying late at coffee shops just to avoid going home. I would sit there with my laptop, pretending to work, dreading the moment I had to return. My marriage was crumbling, and I did not know how to stop it. One evening, I called my best friend Kevin. We had been close since college. He was an engineer, too practical and level-headed. I told him everything. When I finished, there was a long pause on the other end. "Man, this is not right," he said. "You are being used. You know that, right?" I did not answer, but deep down I knew he was telling the truth. I kept telling myself things would get better. I was wrong. It was a Friday evening about 6 weeks after Linda moved in. I had been stuck in meetings all day, one of those brutal stretches where you do not even have time to eat lunch. I was exhausted. All I wanted was to get home, take a hot shower, and maybe watch something mindless on television. When I opened the front door, I froze. There was a woman I had never seen before sitting on my couch, drinking tea from one of my mugs. Linda introduced her. "This is my sister Deborah," she said. "You remember I mentioned her, right?" I did not remember. Deborah had apparently just left her husband and needed somewhere to stay. Temporarily, of course. She had already brought 2 suitcases with her. They were sitting by the door, like they belonged there. I felt my blood pressure rise. I smiled politely, excused myself, and pulled Diana into our bedroom. "This is too much," I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "We cannot have your mom and your aunt living in a 2-bedroom apartment. There is no room." Diana crossed her arms. "She is family, Brian. She has nowhere else to go." What am I supposed to do? Turn her away? I tried to reason with her. "Your mom was supposed to stay for 2 weeks, I said. "It has been 6 weeks. Now your aunt shows up with suitcases. When does this end?" I did not hear the door open behind me. Suddenly, Linda and Deborah were both standing in the bedroom doorway. Linda spoke first. "You are a selfish man, Brian. Family helps family. That is what decent people do." Deborah nodded along. "Diana told me you have been difficult about her mother, too," she added. "I barely know you, and I can already see the problem here." I stood there facing 3 women who were looking at me like I was the enemy. My wife, her mother, her aunt. All of them united against me in my own home. The home I paid for, the lease I signed, the bills I covered every single month. Diana stepped forward. Her voice was cold and steady. "If you do not like my mom living here," she said, "then you can leave. This is my home, too." Linda smirked. Deborah nodded again. "Yeah, maybe you should find somewhere else to stay for a while," Deborah added. "Give everyone some space." I did not yell. I did not argue. I just stood there feeling like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. I looked at Diana, the woman I had married, the woman I had built a life with, and I realized something that broke my heart. To her, I was not a partner. I was not even a husband anymore. I was just the guy who paid the rent. I nodded slowly. "Fine," I said quietly. "I understand now." I walked out of the bedroom. Behind me I heard a small laugh. I did not turn around to see who it came from. That night I could not sleep. I sat in my car, in the apartment parking lot for hours staring at nothing. I thought about the past 3 years, the sacrifices I had made, the patience I had shown, the love I had given. And then I thought about those 4 words Diana had said, "You can leave." And somewhere around 2 in the morning, something clicked in my mind. The lease. The lease was only in my name. Diana had never been added. The landlord Marcus only knew me as the tenant. Linda and Deborah were not authorized occupants. They were not on any paperwork. Legally, they had no right to be there. I pulled out my phone and called Kevin. He picked up on the 3rd ring, groggy but alert. I told him what happened. I told him what I was thinking. There was a pause, then he said, "You can stay at my place as long as you need. Let me know what you decide." I sat in that parking lot until the sun started to come up. By the time the first light hit the windshield, I had made my decision. If Diana wanted me to leave, I would leave. But I was taking my lease with me. The next week, I acted like nothing had changed. I smiled at Linda. I made small talk with Deborah. I told Diana I just needed some time to cool off. She seemed relieved. She probably thought she had won. Meanwhile, I was quietly preparing. I found a studio apartment closer to the city and signed a new lease. I started moving things out slowly. Important documents, my laptop and work equipment, clothes, a few boxes at a time. Diana never noticed. She was too busy with her mother and aunt to pay attention to me. Then I called Marcus, our landlord. I explained the situation as calmly as I could. I told him there were people living in the apartment who were not on the lease. I told him I wanted to terminate my contract early. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he thanked me. He said I had been a reliable tenant for 3 years, always paying on time, never causing problems. He agreed to let me out of the lease without any penalty. He said he would send an official notice to the apartment within a few days. On my last day in that apartment, I waited until Diana left for work. Then I packed everything I had left. I placed a letter on the kitchen table. I kept it short. I explained that I had ended the lease. I told her the landlord would be in contact soon. I wished her and her mother well. Next to the letter, I placed my wedding ring. I took one last look around the place that used to feel like home. Then I locked the door behind me and drove away. I did not look back. 2 days later, Marcus sent the official notice. Diana had 30 days to vacate. She called me immediately. I did not answer. She texted me dozens of times. First she was angry. Then she was pleading. Then she started making threats. Linda called too, screaming into my voicemail. I blocked them all. From that point on, all communication went through my lawyer. The divorce papers were filed within the week. The first few weeks in my new apartment were hard. It was a small studio, barely 600 square feet. The walls felt like they were closing in sometimes. Even though I knew I had done the right thing, the pain was still there. I had lost my marriage. I had lost the future I thought I was building. Some nights I lay awake wondering if I could have done something differently. Maybe if I had been firmer from the start. Maybe if I had set clearer boundaries. The what-ifs haunted me. Kevin came over every week. He would bring pizza and a 6-pack, and we would sit on my tiny couch and talk. He never judged me. He never told me to get over it. He just listened. One night he said something that stuck with me. "You did not fail, Brian. You were failed." Those words helped more than he probably realized. Slowly, things started to change. I joined a gym near my apartment and started going every morning before work. The routine gave me structure. The exercise gave me an outlet. I threw myself into my job working harder than I ever had. My manager noticed. Within 3 months, I was promoted to senior engineer. I signed up for a cooking class on Saturday mornings, something I had always wanted to do, but never made time for. I met new people there, people who did not know my past, people who just saw me as Brian, the guy who made a really good risotto. Through mutual friends, I heard bits and pieces about Diana. She and Linda had to move out of the apartment, of course. They ended up staying with Deborah, who had relocated to another state. The three of them were renting a small trailer together. Diana had to pick up a second job to make ends meet. Part of me felt a twinge of something. Not satisfaction, not happiness, just a quiet acknowledgement that choices have consequences. She made hers. I made mine. The divorce was finalized after 4 months. There was not much to divide. No house, no kids, just some furniture and a lot of broken promises. Diana did not contest anything. Maybe she knew she had pushed too far. Maybe she just wanted it to be over. Either way, I signed the papers, and just like that, I was single again. It felt strange at first. Then it felt like freedom. 6 months after I walked out of that apartment, my life looked completely different. My new place was small, but it was mine. I decorated it the way I wanted. I set up my office exactly how I liked it. No one moved my coffee mugs. No one complained about the Wi-Fi. No one made me feel like a stranger in my own space. I started dating again, slowly and carefully. I was not rushing into anything, but I was open to the possibility of finding someone who would treat me like a partner, not a paycheck. I reconnected with my parents, too. I had not realized how much I had pulled away from them during those last months with Diana. Being around Linda so much had made me avoid family altogether. Now I drove down to see them at least once a month. My mom made me her famous pot roast. My dad and I watched football together. It felt like coming home in a way I had forgotten was possible. Looking back, I learned some hard lessons from that experience. I learned that love does not mean accepting disrespect. I learned that kindness, when it is taken advantage of, stops being kindness and starts being weakness. I learned that when someone tells you to leave sometimes, that is exactly the answer you needed to hear. I learned that family is important, but no one has the right to make you feel like an outsider in your own home. I learned that respect is the foundation of any relationship, and without it, nothing else matters. And I learned that knowing when to walk away is not giving up. It is choosing yourself. Sometimes the people who say they love you are the same ones who will ask you to leave your own home. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is actually leave, but on your own terms. My wife told me to leave my own house. So I did, and I took my peace with me. Now I want to ask you something. If you were in my situation, what would you have done? Would you have stayed and tried to make it work? Or would you have walked away like I did? I would love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below and share your perspective. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like. It helps the channel more than you might think. And if you are not subscribed, yet hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next story. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. You never know who might be going through something similar. Thank you for watching and for being part of this community. I hope you find the strength to protect your peace no matter what life throws at you. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.